Countdown. You are live. We're live. Hello, world. This is Amanda from Strange Mentality Paper, and I got Britton with
Hello,
me.
everyone. Britton
So,
here, also known as SomeOkieDude.
yes, he is. So, Britton, you want to explain why we're here?
Well, in about a week or so from now, it's going to be the Red River Showdown, which is the big college football game against Oklahoma versus Texas. I'm repping my OU gear, so yeah. And Amanda had the great idea of doing a
I've got burnt
uh,
orange on too.
yeah. Amanda had the great idea of getting some books together to commemorate the occasion. So
Yep.
that's what we're doing today. Um, it was a bit harder for me. You're very fortunate. Very fortunate, Amanda. You're from a state with a lot of stuff that's happened. So
Yes, definitely. Well, I mean, we're also quite a lot bigger, so
yeah,
I'm
you're a
sure
you're a thick boy over there.
we are. We are. Everything's bigger in Texas, including the people, unfortunately. Like you go down to Houston, that's where my 600-pound life takes place.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's where
Anyway,
the doctor is. All
eh,
right. Anyway, so I figured since Texas is going to win, we'd go first. So you can see we got our genres here: science fiction, fantasy, YA, historical fiction, Western, romance, mystery, thriller, horror, nonfiction. This is for Texas. And then we got Britons down here. We just made this so that we could prepare. But I will start out talking about Tears of the Truffle Pig.
I don't
So,
even think I've heard of this,
probably
admittedly.
not. Look how many reviews and ratings it has. Not very many. And I actually found this at AWP in 2020, a week before the pandemic. AWP is the biggest. Yeah, here we go. Now I'm on the screen. AWP, you can see very few reviews.
Looks kind of weird. Yeah.
AWP. Yeah, AWP is it's the biggest writing conference pretty much in the world. But that year it was small. A lot of stuff got canceled because that was before we went into lockdown, but COVID had reached the US. So a lot of stuff was canceled, but they still had a book fair. And I was able to find this one on the book fair. So it's more of a sci-fi speculative fiction, and I haven't read it yet. It's in my classroom, so I've had a couple students read it and really like it. It takes place in South Texas, which I love, with the narcos. So narcotics are legal, and there's a new contraband on the market: the ancient Olmec artifacts. So shrunken heads, we all know what those are, and filtered animals, species of animals bringing back from extinction. So we've got a little bit of Jurassic Park in there too. So
Wow.
So MacArthur is a real town. It's a border town, and unfortunately, we all know about the one town in South Texas because of last year. We won't start talking about it, but pretty sure we know what I'm talking about down there. The horrible school shooting that happened. But this is
Oh,
even, yeah, Uvalde. This is even further south. This is right on the border. And 80% of my students actually are Hispanic. So this has been really popular with my guys. Um, and let's see, but his simple life starts to get complicated when the swashbuckling investigative journalist, Paco Herbert, invites him to come to an illegal underground dinner serving
what a
filtered
name,
animals. Yep.
Paco
Talk about
Herbert.
the, yeah.
It's
Bea
not
Costa.
Alexander Supertramp, but it's
No.
something.
Yeah, so Bea Costa soon finds himself in the middle of an increasingly perilous, surreal, psychedelic journey where he encounters legends of the long disappeared Aranya Indian tribe and their object of worship, the mysterious truffle pig, said to possess strange powers. So, yeah, Goodreads is calling this dystopian too, which I can kind of see. I
Sounds
wonder
kind of
though.
weird.
Yeah, I wonder. Well, he's from. Okay, so Tamu. I'm not even trying to say that. This is the border town with El Paso. Well, actually, all of Texas. It's kind of skinny, but this is the state in Mexico that Texas borders to the south. So he was raised in Texas. College dropout, film photographer, screenwriter, and he lives in Austin. Nice. So Beowulf, they also enjoyed Beowulf. So These books look a little surrealist also, other than Beowulf. Like I guess that shows that literary people are into it too. Okay, so we've got a review in Spanish. Very so with this novel, the author Fernando A. Flores explores the difficulties of life in a frontier Mexican school and town and the problem for the immigrants, for the legal immigrants
Wait, you can
through
read Spanish?
a little bit through one coincident or one instance in the life. Oh goodness.
Sounds like they're just summarizing. I hate that.
Yeah. So
Summarizing is not reviewing a book,
no,
guys.
it's not. De la misma manera, possible excess of action. Yeah, this is too hard. I can't read all that, but I was trying. Okay. 3 border walls between Mexico and the US. Yikes. Um, so while there is plenty to see and to experience in the southern roller coaster of a novel, it was frequently too desperate for my taste, disparate. When a story arc explodes into my face, this narrative decision must be beneficial to the overall text, but many moves and shifts in this book seem slightly gratuitous to me, just there to say, hey, I'm edgy. Nevertheless, this is an interesting novel, and Flores is the kind of author who will have a hard time writing a boring book. Interesting. All right, so that is Tears of the Truffle Pig. And oh gosh, I don't know what this is. Why will it go away? That's so gross. But
What's
yeah,
wrong with The Bachelor, Amanda?
it's the Golden Bachelor. He's an old man
Oh, okay,
trying to
fair
find
enough.
old ladies. But yeah, I guess it's better than 20-year-olds. But anyway, yeah, I based on what I've read, I definitely want to read this. And based off what my students have said, they really like it. It's I don't think I've had a girl student read it, but the boys love it. So there we go. So Britton, I think we're gonna move on to you, and you're gonna do 2 in a row.
Okay.
So you're gonna do your SFF, and then you're gonna do what are we doing after SFF? We're doing
YA,
YA. Can't wait.
young
Can't
adult.
wait.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna switch over to let me share this tab instead. All right,
uh,
Britton, take it
yeah.
away.
Yeah, my first choice was Ready Player One because it was probably the only, probably not the only one. I saw some other SFF books that took
Okay.
place in Oklahoma, but this was probably like the biggest one. But yeah,
Yeah,
Ready Player One.
I've
I
definitely heard of
have
it.
read this book,
Okay.
and there's better science fiction novels. I'll put it that way.
Oh,
Um,
I haven't
this-
read it yet, but I'm sure I will. My students talk about it, but I don't have it. I'll get it if I can find it for a reasonable
um,
price. Look at this.
yeah,
I'm not paying that.
yeah. I mean, I'll put it this way: it's kind of a half-assed exploration of why people feel the need to escape into other worlds or fictional worlds.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
it's not that interesting, and it just has a bunch of like pop culture references. It's just like okay,
Yeah. All right. The only
I
Wade Watts. What an interesting name.
yeah, like even in the book, he's like it's like a superhero name. I'm like oh
Oh
jeez.
gosh. Oh
Now the
gosh.
audiobook with Will Wheaton does make it pretty bearable because he is
Okay.
very good at his job.
Awesome.
His audiobook of The Martian is also very good. I think I have a
I,
review of this book down there.
yeah, I think. Oh, you might down here. Let's see. You reviewed this
Are
one.
we friends on?
Yeah. Well, are we? I don't know. We're finally
Thought we
friends
were.
on here. Yeah, I mean, we comment on each other's stuff a lot, but I don't know if we are friends, to be honest, on this thing.
Kemper. I mean,
Yeah, we got Mark Lawrence, all the people we know. Let's see. It doesn't look like I can see your review, Britton. Maybe you did it on a different. Um,
no, it's probably because I didn't star it. That's probably why you can't find it so easily.
yeah, maybe.
But
Well, we can tell what you think. You didn't give it a star rating on here, but what do you think? Would you star it? Is it just straight up 0 stars,
well,
or
I do that because, in all honesty, I just kind of stopped doing that. But if I did
Mhm.
give it a star review, it'd probably be like a 2.5, maybe 2.
Okay. On Goodreads, are you a rounder upper or a rounder downer?
I think I'm around. I tend to be more positive about things. But
Yeah, I tend to I round up because, math, you give it 2.5, I'll round up. So, yeah.
I try to
So,
give it a fair shake. But yeah, it wasn't fun. I mean, there
nice.
was like the Rush references, which were fun, but aside from that, it's just nothing. It's like a wet fart.
Jeez. I mean, I guess those can be satisfying sometimes, but oh yeah, I see the Martian right here. The Martian also won, didn't it win an Audi award or whatever for whatever they're called for the
Oh,
audiobooks?
it won something, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm
But yeah, Will Wheaton's audio book of that was very good, and the one for Ready Player One isn't too bad.
awesome. Well,
But
it's
I
got
think it's an overrated book though. It's just
I
I
mean,
call it
yeah.
it's one of those I call it popcorn sci-fi where it's just
Yeah.
kind of like you're running around and it's just like a bunch of you know
That's
all
fair.
flash no substance as people would say. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah, all frosting, no cake. I think that's what we say
exactly.
here. Yeah, no, I get it, definitely. It's uh put under YA on here, so I guess we got a YA dystopian SFF, and maybe we'll call this the boy version of Divergent. Would that be fair?
You know what? That's actually not a bad comparison.
All right.
They're both pretty cringy in all honesty.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't make it through Divergent. I've seen parts of the movie, but just couldn't do it. So who knows?
Oh
Maybe I
god, the
wouldn't
book
make
is
it.
worse. I mean, oh
it
jeez. I
yeah.
hate the writing style in that book.
So it's fair to say you would not recommend this.
No, I mean, hey, if you do want to read it, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm
Yeah.
not really a big fan of this book.
Yeah, if I find one for a decent price, I'll definitely get it for my school library because I've had students be like, "Have you read Ready Player One?" And I'm like, "No, not yet." But yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
one of those science fiction books that like get people into it, which on the
oh,
one
that
hand
sounds
is
good
kind
to
of
me.
sad, but
Yeah,
hey, I'm glad there are people reading science fiction though at the same. So it's kind of a
yeah.
double-edged sword at this point.
Science fiction is not my thing. Space operas. I had somebody recommend Old Man's War to me, and I tried. I'll probably try again, but I think something like this and definitely Andy Weir would probably be. Um, Good for people like me who are experienced readers, but at the same time not experienced with sci-fi. Would you say
Fair
that's
enough, I
fair?
guess.
Awesome.
I'd recommend like Jeff Vandermeer, but it's
Yeah, yeah. I work a lot with teenagers. I don't think Britton does. So,
oh well.
well, yeah.
Yeah, aren't you a teacher?
Yeah, I am. I'm a high school teacher. Britton, you're still in school, right?
I'm in college, so
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
not
Britton's
too
a
much of a
baby.
baby.
All right, are
But
we done? Are we done with Ready Player One, or do you have
yeah,
more to
yeah, I
say?
think I think we're done with Ready Player One. Yeah,
All
it's
right.
it's Ready Player One. That's all I gotta say about it.
Okay, let's move on to your next one then. Let's see, share this tab.
Next, YA, obvious,
Yep,
The Outsiders from
I got my
SE,
copy right here.
which is
So,
kind of an Oklahoma classic. I read this a lot in middle school. I've read this a few times. It's good. It's pretty good. There's probably some stuff that hasn't aged very well, but
you
there's
know,
a actually there's actually
what
a. Oh, sorry, Amanda. What were you saying?
you were talking about how it hadn't aged too well. I when I read it a couple weekends ago, I don't know that I would say it hasn't aged that well, but there were some stuff that I guess nowadays could be considered out of time, like rich
Yeah,
kids fighting, like broad generalization here, but I work in the inner city now and we have fights all the time. But I grew up a rich kid and I can't remember one fight at my high school. So the fact that kids from the suburbs came out for a big fight and there was rich kids versus poor kids, nowadays rich kids and poor kids really don't see each other. Like even in a big city, they don't really come into contact. So I guess the world was a little smaller back then. We didn't have social media. You actually had to go out to do things. But when we talk about it aging poorly, yeah, I think that would
well,
pretty much
I
just
didn't
be
want to.
it.
It's not in the way like it's racist or anything like
Hmm.
that. It's just
Yeah,
kind of like there's just some stuff that people would be like, "What?"
yeah,
Like greasers. You're like, "Oh
yeah.
man." You think of
I don't
like,
know how I don't know how street smart these kids were either. It
yeah,
was kind of like, okay.
Hey, they
So,
evaded the law for a little bit there, but yeah, no, it's a pretty good book. I mean, it's a good one to read when you're younger. I
mhm,
mean, there is some content in there, like, well, there's a lot of smoking and there's fighting, and
yeah.
there's people who tried to ban this, and it's kind of funny because it's like it's not even that bad. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I don't know if this one's been challenged in Texas. It's just such a classic. Um, so one my the teacher who I almost said lives, yeah, she lives next door to me. Her classroom's next door. She's currently teaching this. I decided to teach something else just to be different, but this one is just such a classic. I think everybody reads it in sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth grade, pretty much anywhere you are. So I just wanted to be different, but yeah, I reread it, and I it's probably a good thing that a 30-year-old woman wasn't in love with a YA book, because I feel like this is a YA book written for young adults, and meaning teenagers. And I just didn't connect with it like I did when I was 13, which I think is a good thing.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's actually a funny story. One of my dad's friends, his name's Mike. He said that he he said that S.E. Hinton was inspired by his dad and his friends. I don't know if that
Wow.
was, I don't know if that's true, but
That's
uh,
that's a
that's
good story, whether it is
yeah,
or
it's a
not.
good story though, nonetheless.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, it's good. It was good. Yeah, but I like this book. It's pretty good. I'm not gonna pretend it's a masterpiece by any means, but
That's fair. And this is one of the books where I think everybody knows the story. It's like we got our little kid pony boy. And it's also referenced in a lot of other work. And Britton, have you seen the movie?
yes. Hmm.
Thoughts on movie versus book here. What do you think?
They're both about the same amount of quality. You know, I mean, it follows the book pretty closely, aside
You,
from like a couple scenes here and there.
yeah, as a kid, I actually really did not like the movie because I think I just put
Gasp!
Yeah, I think I just put the book on such a high pedestal, and it really influenced the way I wrote as a child and even still now. So, I mean, I've got like a warm feeling in my heart for it, but yeah, the students that have watched it, I think in my friend's class, tend to like it, but it's Francis Ford Coppola, and I'd say it's definitely one of his weaker films. It's not The Godfather by any means, but
Sure, I'd agree with that. I mean, it's not. I mean, to
it's
be
got
fair,
baby Tom
it
Cruise.
it kind of has that. How do you put it? It kind of has that like aw shucks, kind
Mhm.
of.
Yeah,
Oh, look at how poetic being a kid is, kind of thing.
exactly,
I
exactly.
I can see how that might I can see how that might
Yeah.
rub some people. Not I don't know, rub people the wrong way. But I can see how some people might like be like, that's kind of stupid.
And it's a very simple story of just a kid trying to discern right from wrong. And on the surface, that is very, very simple. But I think those simple plots can really be incredibly moving, more so moving than huge, giant stories that span generations. Just that simple question of, what's the right thing to do in this complicated situation for a 14-year-old kid. I don't think you need to complicate that, as I think the movie kind of did and the book didn't.
Yeah. But yeah,
All
no,
right.
The Outsiders is basically like a staple out here. Like
Of
it's
course. Of course. And I don't know, being an inner city teacher, I was like, how bad could it really be in Tulsa in 1950? But they did keep some of the country elements in here. Like when they were at the drive-through, I noticed that they were talking about roping, and barrel racing, about how the little redhead Cherry Valance, they were
mm,
like, I've seen you out roping before. So that may slip past some like city slickers, but I was like, oh, yeah, 1950s Tulsa with rodeo stuff.
I'm
So
a dirty city rat, Amanda.
I
So
know. Oklahoma City over there with you. I would call myself a dirty city rat too. And just,
you live in the interstate. So
I
is it
live,
like is it like the Wire over there, or is it like not as bad? Have you ever
um,
seen the Wire?
I have seen The Wire. It's not as bad, I would say,
Well,
as
that's good.
Baltimore. Yeah.
That's good.
You know, with my students in the area I live in, there is a lot of crime. Um, we do have a lot of gun violence, but the majority of my kids really are just trying to scrape by, working class families.
Hmm.
You go around and it's not as like beat up as you would expect, kind of like an inner city like bad area to be. Like it looks fairly nice, but at the same time, it's just urban poverty and people
Hmm.
just trying to scrape by a living. And the kids really, they put a lot of value on money. So they'll do pretty much anything they can to get money. And culturally, they're all just a little bit quicker to resort to violence to solve their problems.
No, that's not
So,
good.
no, in a way, that's similar to the outsiders. Like someone's having an argument, they'll just go fight it out. But they're not they're
Yeah.
not rich kids, so
Maybe
it's like I
maybe
was
it's
like,
aged better than we thought. I don't know.
yeah, it has, but the things with the rich kids just really kind of threw me for a loop. I was like, really? 22 rich kids showed up for a fight? Yeah. So,
Well,
but
you get bored
mhm,
and
yeah,
you get.
maybe. I wonder how rural Tosa really was back then. We can see the image of like, I guess this is downtown. So, in a way where I live, you do kind of have, because we're so far out of downtown, I could see sort of the small town, problems creeping up in a place sort of like this, as well as the urban chaos. So that I
Mm,
think kind of was done well, and I liked the Easter eggs of, oh hey, this is Tulsa, because they mention a suburb, and yeah, without like explicitly stating. So until you told me it was Tulsa, I actually thought it was Oklahoma City. But
yeah, no, Tulsa.
yeah, that's pretty cool. So we just talked about how good it was. Let's do a
Yeah, let's
quick,
read some of the reviews. See what we
yeah.
got here.
Let me see. One of my friends did, oh goodness, here's mine. I can't give this a star rating. It was so different reading this as a grown up. Pony's boy's voice was annoying, and this doesn't have the same level of believability it had when I was 13. That being said, it's probably a good thing I didn't really vibe with it as a 30-year-old woman. It is a YA book after all. Yep, this guy's, I chat to this guy a lot. Yep, love this, short and sweet. This book broke my heart. I knew the story because I had seen the movie, but the book was so much more heartfelt and heavy. I definitely teared up multiple times while reading this, and I loved it so much. She's a top reviewer. Let's see. Okay, Jess, we know her. She's a booktuber. 5 stars. Wonderful, wonderful book. It shows the often true view of battle of the social groups in such a personal way that you feel these are your peers, your friends, and your family. Yeah, I would say they definitely feel like real kids. Anyone in any situation, social class, or age can relate to this book. I can certainly understand why I just read in many high school English classes. Yep. Yep. I think you definitely need to read it before you graduate high school. That being said,
I'm probably going to.
yeah, and you're probably going to. Very true. Alrighty, you ready to move on to what's our next
Let's.
genre? What?
I think it's
Oh
your
wait,
turn.
it's my turn.
YA
Yeah,
for
it's my turn.
Texas.
All right, here we go. Another Texas classic. It's holes,
Holes.
guys. So
I really enjoy holes.
I love holes so much. And you know what? This book, honestly, when did it come out? 1998. This book came out about 20 years before its time. I think if this book had come out in 2023, it probably would have changed the world to show how, well, honestly, how bad the troubled teen industry really is. And I think Louis Soccer, I don't know how to say his name, was
Sakar? I
Sacker,
don't know.
yeah. But I think he was trying to be over the top and farcical with how poorly these kids are treated, but
Oh
it wasn't.
yes.
It really wasn't. Like, to be honest, I've talked about it on my channel, and there's a scene in the movie where Shia LaBeouf just kind of shows his blisters to the camera. And I have just blister scars all over my hands from the excessive exercise I had to do at my troubled teen facility, which I've talked about a little bit. And these places are torture.
You
And
were troubled. You were a troubled teen.
I was indeed, yes. So these
Were you a rebel? You,
I liked to cuss out my teachers.
oh,
So
that's not good.
I
Don't
just,
do that.
especially being a teacher now, I get cussed out on a daily basis. And I'm normally like, oh, is that the best you can do? Like, come on. I was 14 once. I was kind of heavily medicated on psych meds, and that was causing most of the problems because those were the meds were causing more problems and not like fixing the problems I was having in school. They just kind of made it worse. So once I finally got to a place with a real doctor, we cleared it up. But yeah, so Stanley Yelnats is under a curse that began with his no good, dirty, rotten, pig stealing great great grandfather, and has since followed generations of Yelnats. Now Stanley has been unjustly sent to a boys' detention center, Camp Green Lake, where the boys build character by spending all day, every day, digging holes exactly 5 feet wide and 5 feet deep. There is no lake at Camp Green Lake, but there is also a lot of holes. It doesn't take long for Stanley to realize there's more than character improvement going on at Camp Green Lake, which is so true. Like my troubled teen facility, it was called Happy Hill Farm. Let's shut it down. Uh, Money.
Was it
They
not? Was it
loved.
not happy?
No, it was awful. And
I don't
they
mean to
were
laugh. That's
after, yeah, they
go
were
ahead.
after the money, man, just like the warden here. So the boys are digging holes because the warden is looking for something. But what could be buried under a dried up lake? Stanley tries to dig up the truth in this inventive and darkly humorous, yes, tale of crime and punishment and redemption. And this says it's 272 pages. You know, it really did not feel that long when I read it. And I wanted this edition because
You
this is
know,
the
it
the
always.
20th anniversary edition, but I didn't get it.
You
Oh,
know it.
pronounced Sacker. Okay, there we go.
It always throws me off when I
Look at
see the
this.
movie
Oh, the
and
movie.
in the book Stanley is fat
Yes, he
and
is.
in the book he's not.
He's not.
Or in the
In
movie
the
he's
movie,
not.
he's not. Yeah, and um, that's fine. Yeah. But this is my review. I read this month. I reread it for this and oh man, I loved it. This was a lot darker than the movie. My guess is they inserted the humor and lessened the child abuse in order to maintain a PG rating. Had this book come out in 2023, it would have changed the world. The troubled teen industry is thriving, but troubled teens don't take teens forever, and we're working hard with Paris Hilton and unsilenced.org to hold the abusers responsible. As a survivor of this industry, this was a bit hard to read. I don't know if Sacker intended Camp Green Lake to be over the top and satirical, but it rings so true to the shit I went through at Happy Hill Farm, Casa by the Sea, Provo Canyon School, Happy Hill, and so many others have bills to pay, and they will pay. I want to personally thank Sacker for writing this book. None of the boys at Camp Green Lake deserved what they went through, and neither did we. So this one hit pretty hard. So
Small Steps, which is kind of the quasi spin-off sequel, is also very good.
I have that. I didn't make it through it. That focuses on armpit, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Bookish Austin. We know him. Let's see what he said. Ooh, long. Holes was one of my favorite books when I was back in middle school, so I was curious to see how well it held up. I think it held up extremely well. I was able to read it in one sitting. It took me 2 days actually to read it, but I read it online with my online library card, which has since expired, sadly. Expired like a few days ago, but I was kind of reading it while my students were working, so I didn't read it like all the way through. I was able to read it one sitting, and I felt I picked up more from it than when I was younger, as many of the themes fell on blind eyes back then. Story is a straightforward one. All right, get to what you think about it. I had a lot of fun with this reread and wish I had picked it up sooner. I also really do wish it was longer, and I honestly feel that the movie was even stronger than the book, as it filled in some of the holes in the story. Little cool face. More character development and more time to develop the ending would have been great. Yeah. But nonetheless, Hole remains a favorite of mine. So I would say the book and the movie are right on par. The movie,
No, I agree.
yeah.
I was actually Tim Blake Nelson actually came to one of my local bookstores because he wrote a novel recently, not too
Uh-huh.
long ago. I
Nice.
didn't get the chance to meet him because I had other things I was doing that day. But I would have been like, "Yo, dude, you're pretty good at holes."
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it is your turn, Britton. We are moving on from YA to historical fiction.
Yeah,
So,
I chose Maud's Line because, in all honesty, I'll admit I have not read this, but it looked interesting to me, and apparently it's pretty well known.
Is it? I didn't know about it
Or
either.
well, it says finalist of the Pulitzer Prize. I,
Oh,
I wish I
wow.
wish there were more quality Oklahoma books. I haven't read all of them, but I thought this one's pretty good. So
All right. Debut novel chronicling the life and loves of a headstrong, earthly, and magnetic heroine. Eastern Oklahoma, 1928. That's a good time period. 18-year-old Maud Nail lives with her rogue father and sensitive brother on one of the allotments parceled out by the U.S. government to Cherokees when their land was confiscated for Oklahoma statehood. Maud's days are filled with hard work and simple pleasures, but often marked by violence and tragedy, a fact that she accepts with determined practicality. Her prospects for a better life are slim, but when a newcomer with good looks and books rides down her section line, she will take notice. Soon she finds herself facing a series of high stakes decisions that will determine her future and those of her loved ones. All right, so I am clicking this to my want to read list.
I was about to
Uh,
say, it sounds like
yeah,
it sounds kind of like what I read from you, that Civil
it
War story you're working on right now.
it kind of does, to be honest. So Kindle 14.99. I'll find something better. I'm not paying that much for less than 300 pages. So let's look at the reviews. See if anybody we know rated it. Um, I don't know that person. Beth
Just mention I
Robert.
freaking love holes. Such a good. You didn't get through small steps?
I did not. Sorry.
Oh,
I
so
read it when
good.
I read it when I was much younger. Maybe if I tried again, I wasn't as into. Uh-oh, we got a bad one. I'm sorry, but I must be true to my feelings when reading this one. A debut using very elementary writing. Short and basic sentences that grew to an irritating distraction. I had hoped for a better reading experience. So she did not like the style. Interesting. I am conflicted about this novel. I wanted to like it a lot. The writing is lovely and lyrical. Okay, much different than the last one. Sense of place is reminiscent of novels like The Yearling, Their Eyes Were Watching God, Even a Great Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Stories of community and struggle and family. Wanted to love it more than I did. Maud, love of books and desire was better herself, resonated with me. The descriptions of life in her community were spot on, but at the end of the novel, I was dissatisfied with Maud's ability to seize control of her own destiny. Oh, I love that. Yeah, so that's awesome. I kind of
It,
like that. It feels more true to real life, but I can see how it'd be very dissatisfying to a reader. Big time.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I chose Maud's line because it looked interesting to me. I actually added it to my to read list. So I'm always looking
This,
for books that are set in
yeah,
Oklahoma because we need to be better represented out here.
this book sounds like right up my alley, to be honest. All right, so I guess it's my turn.
All right, your turn for historical fiction.
I believe it is. Where is it? There we go. This is historical fiction. So I did The Four Winds by
It,
Kristen
it's
Hanna.
still showing on here, or Maud's line.
Thank you. Gotcha.
Oh, there we go.
So The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. Kristen Hanna is probably best known for The Nightingale, which I
I
did
was
not
about to say
like.
this name sounds familiar.
The Nightingale, The Great Alone, Firefly Lane, a bunch of others. She's big in women's hisfic, and I was not very impressed by this one because I had really, really high expectations. But this takes place, or it starts, in a town called Dalhart, which I have been to. And Dalhart is the nastiest place. Like driving through it, I almost threw up because the smell of cow feces. Like this was before COVID when I was
So
there, and I was like this.
Like
Yes.
cattlemen's out in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I was just like this driving through it, and my eyes were burning like it was bad.
Oh,
And
oh,
so it's 1934. Millions are out of work, and drought has broken the Great Plains. Farmers are fighting to keep their land and livelihood. As the crops are failing, the water is drying up, and dust threatens to bury them all. One of the darkest periods of the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl era, has arrived with a vengeance. It is uncertain and dangerous time. Elsa Martinelli, like so many of her neighbors, must make an agonizing choice: fight for the land she loves, or go west to California in search of a better life. you've read Steinbeck, you know what it was like out in California. A Better Life, my ass. I mean, come on. The Four Winds is an indelible portrait of America and the American dream, as seen through the eyes of one indomitable woman whose courage and sacrifice will come to define a generation. You know,
Man,
I wasn't a huge fan of
really,
Elsa.
really hitting it on the head there.
Yeah, it was melodramatic, and it was a 3-star, and I think I was just expecting too much from Kristen Hanna, because of how amazing I had heard she was. And I opened that book and just was not impressed, really. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't amazing like I thought it was gonna be. So I've read The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Didn't like it. It's actually my most hated book.
Wow,
Um,
so you're just not a fan of this author.
I'm not sure I am. I'm not sure I am. So this is
Um,
my first Kristen Hanna novel, and I am not impressed. So I read this in 2021. Steinbeck is my favorite American author, and he dubs his novel, specifically Grapes of Wrath, and he does in his novel, with Grapes of Wrath, what Hannah thought she was doing here, showing the grim realities of being a migrant worker in a flailing economy. I never connected to Elsa, the main character. In fact, found her quite annoying. I loved Loretta, that's her daughter. I got a kick out of the setting of Dalhart. Yes, it's a real place. Oprah thought Amarillo smelled bad. Honey, travel just a little bit north and you'll find shit city. Literally, the whole Smitty smells like cow shit. Right now, no one has a hold on the histofic genre quite like Kristen Hanna. She's popular, prolific, and pretty. This is her most current work, and I will still give Nightingale a try, but I'm very unimpressed. Is this the best Hanna can do? If so, when is Ruta Sepetys' next novel coming
oh
out?
come on, you had to make a sniper at being pretty. Come on now.
I mean, she is pretty, but yeah. I mean, for an old
Yeah,
lady.
she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the Four Winds. It's probably good for people who haven't read a lot of historical fiction and are wanting kind of an adult centric story. But
Um,
I mean, not adult, I mean female centric.
I have read Grapes of Wrath from John Steinbeck. It's been a few years. I want to read it again at some point. I'm more of an East of Eden fan. I love that book.
I didn't make it through that. It's being
Oh,
I know. I'm
no,
sorry. I
I
had to
think
read it as a
my
senior.
favorite of his is kind of tied between East of Eden and Of Mice and Men because
Oh, that one, the ending.
the story just shreds my heart every time.
Yeah, it does. It does. So I think that's about all I have to say about Kristen Hanna.
Which
Um,
read John Steinbeck, by the way, for people.
yes, definitely. All right, we're moving on to westerns. So
Yeah, I got. I guess we'll go for mine. I got Children of the Dust.
there we go. So have you
Wait a
read this
minute,
one, Britton?
I think you got the. I think you got the wrong one.
Oh, did
That's
I get the wrong one?
science fiction.
Ew. Children of Dust.
Oh man, the search.
Children of the Dust Bowl? Children of Dust.
Maybe try Clancy Carlo. I think that's the one. I
Oops.
think. There it
Absorb.
is. Yep.
There we go. Okay.
Um, the Ku Klux Klan.
Ugh.
That's lovely.
That's
No, I'm kidding. By the way, um, don't take that out of context. Um, yeah, I just saw this one. I haven't read it because again, I'm just really bad at keeping up with books from my own state. But
okay.
good stuff.
Yeah, that doesn't sound. I mean, I like a western. I hope it doesn't represent the Klan in a good way. um, but
No, I think it's about a
what?
guy taking. If I remember right, I think the guy's taking revenge on the Ku Klux Klan. So I'm
Okay,
sure.
well that's good. Well, I mean, we all know, both of us. We are ancestors. We know what they were like back in the day. We both have kind of a shame, well, not kind of, an extremely shameful past in our states. regarding racism, and I just hope you're correct that it's a guy taking revenge on the Klan. Let's see. Set during the Oklahoma land rush of 1880s, the damnedest race in history, Children of Dust tells the interlocking stories of dispossessed Indians and newly freed blacks as never before. Bold, grand, and timelessly entertaining, this is a novel about an American past that we rarely explored and dare not forget. That sounds interesting. It doesn't look like it's that well known. 12 reviews? I'm putting this on what to read.
I don't really love the I don't really love the cover. I'm kind of a cover snob.
Aria, it looks very like 1980s Western. When was
Yeah,
this
it looks
written?
kind of.
1995. Yeah. Well, I added it
Looks
to
like
my
something
want
you'd
to
find at a Walmart. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Disgusting. Okay.
So,
But
Britton hasn't read this, but I just put it on my want to read list.
I
So,
put it
we're
on my list because, again, I'm always
good.
looking for Oklahoma fiction.
All right, guys. We know this one.
You're
um,
lucky. How come you get the one that's like one of the most iconic Western novels of all time? And
all right.
also, I'm
Funny you
hoping to read.
ask.
I'm
Funny you
hoping.
ask.
I'm hoping to
So,
read this next year, and
it's
you can
so
go first.
good. I'll tell the story of how this book came to be. There is a church in my hometown called the Lonesome Dove Baptist Church. Larry McMurtry was suffering from writer's block. He knew he wanted to write a Western, but he couldn't think of what to write. Until one day in South Texas, he was sitting in a parking lot and saw a van for the Lonesome Dove Baptist Church, and that sparked his imagination. So, if the Lonesome Dove Baptist Church was not existent, we wouldn't have this Pulitzer Prize winning novel. So, that is kind of a claim to fame in my hometown. Lonesome Dove. We inspired Lonesome Dove. So, Lonesome Dove, I've read it. If you don't read any Western in your entire life, you've got to read Lonesome Dove. It's a classic Western. It's not a neo Western like No Country for Old Men, but it's got, cowboys and Indians. They're going north on a cattle run to live in Montana. And if you've seen the miniseries actually follows this book to a T. So let me see what I said about this. It's slow to both start and end, but the writing is about as elegant as you could expect from a 1980s Western. Being from the town where Lonesome Dove Baptist Church resides, I've always felt connected to the miniseries and didn't know until a couple of years ago that it was adapted from a book. The miniseries follows the book extremely well until part 3, where it starts to diverge, but in a satisfying direction. At the end, we feel as fleeting as the eponymous Lonesome Dove himself, and it's worth the ride. I've scarcely been left so stirred by an ending. Only the last paragraph of The Dead tops the ending to Lonesome Dove. Honestly, if you read only one Western, a genre I'm honestly not too hasty to advertise that I love, meaning I love Westerns, but I'm embarrassed, read this one. Rooster from True Grit has nothing on Gus and Captain Call. Them is some true cowboys. Yeah.
I'm actually hoping to read Lonesome Dove next year. See if I can take on that massive responsibility
It is, and it is
because
slow, but
a,
it's worth it.
a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, this book
Yeah,
is so good," and I'm all
it
like,
it
"Okay,
is.
buddy, let's
It
see."
is. And when I finished it, I kind of just sat there staring at the wall, wondering what I was going to do with my life because it was so enthralling and like, the ending. I was like, so what do I do now?
Yeah,
All
I've
right.
heard it's a good one.
Yeah, it is. So I think it's my turn, and then you're going to go. Britton, I have a feeling you're not going to have much to say about the romance genre. Am I right?
No, wait, didn't you also have No Country on your list? I
I
thought you did.
did, but it's a neo-western, and I just thought I'd mention it because I recommend this one a little bit more.
Oh, okay,
When people
okay.
talk about westerns, I think this is kind of what they envision. I think most people would call, even though they're incorrect, would call No Country for Old Men a thriller, even though it's a neo-western. So I'm gonna move on to romance. I think I'm gonna kind of dominate Britain here because I don't.
Well, I am a guy, so romance is
Yeah.
sort of a weird. But I found this book because I'm like, it looks respectable. Okay, like
Okay.
it doesn't look that bad. Now, I'm
Okay.
not. Now, I know there are good romances out there, like Pride and Prejudice,
Yeah,
but now I'm not expecting this book is like Pride and Prejudice.
no. But
But
it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I really love smut. I like the cringe smut.
you love
Slut,
the
jeez.
cringe.
I do because it cracks me up. It's so funny. And there is some good cringe smut in here. I will say if you've read The Love Hypothesis, I don't know if Allie Hazelwood like lost her virginity between Love on the Brain and The Love Hypothesis, but yeah, the sex scenes in here a lot more realistic than what happens in The Love Hypothesis. Like there's this notorious scene where the main character puts in The Love Hypothesis puts the other character's entire breast in his mouth, which not really possible. But this one is a little better. So this is the Stimonus novel by Allie Hazelwood. This takes place in Houston because they work for NASA. Now this main character here, B. Kernenswasser, geez, I don't know how smart she is to be working at NASA, but it's good. It's got a broody. Let me see the review here. I like this YouTuber. Where is she? Chandler. All right. Where is she? All right. I burn, I pine, I quite literally fucking perish for a man who can write sexually charged love letter DMs and who wields also not only a healthy emotional intelligence, but also a massive horse cock. Yeah, that's the good description because in
And
the
now I
main
kind of want to read this. I want to see what
yeah.
all the
Oh
fuss
no,
is
it's worth it. It's good. It's good. It's cringy. It's cringe, but at the same time, it's really enjoyable.
I love it. I love
So
it.
here here's my review. This is probably more of a 3-star book, but since Hazelwood has deemed it her hate letter to standardized testing, I hate standardized testing. I had to bump it up a star. Standardized testing is biased and evil. You can't prove me wrong. I will say that I related a lot to this MC. I think I kind of am this MC, which would explain why I'm so fond of her. Found her so unpalatable. I realize there's a certain charm to this kind of stubborn, socially inept, and weirdly hyper focused person, but I just didn't get it. I also don't really know how smart this character is. How does she have a STEM degree? She's pretty dumb. That being said, this was so predictable, but it's definitely self aware, which is what I liked about it. It's not trying to be Pride and Prejudice. It's fun, silly, smutty crap. And Allie Hazelwood knows that. That being said, this is so predictable, but it's definitely self aware. It's a quick, fun read. Oh gosh, I don't remember writing this, but wow. I wasn't ready for the blowjob in the kitchen, though. That scene was gross. All the other sex scenes were perfectly wonderful cringe, though. Wow, I forgot about that kitchen scene. Yeah, I was not ready for that one. I wasn't ready for it to get that graphic.
Hey,
But
sometimes you gotta get it going, in the kitchen.
yes. Okay, so I think we're done with this, and
All
we're
right.
gonna move on before I kind of die of embarrassment to Britain's, what was it, The Promise of Forgiveness?
Yes.
All right, Britain, take it
Oh
away.
man, I went for the pure cringe, my friend.
Oh,
This is like a wall. This is what you would find at like a Walmart
oh yeah.
for like cheap.
Oh,
That's
nice.
what I was going for with the romance, and I apologize if there's any romance fans who watch this, but
No, no, we're good.
I was kind of like, I'm gonna go for the like lowest hanging fruit here, and that this is what I found.
Nice,
So there
nice.
you go.
So, Britain, is this on your to be read list or no?
Probably not.
All
No,
right,
at
let's
least I
look.
don't think so. I'm
Well, it's women's fiction. I'm gonna go to the Walmart in my small town and see if this is in there. I bet it is. Well, it's got good reviews. 4-star, 5-star,
Yeah, maybe I
5-star.
judged it a
All by
little too.
ladies. All by ladies. Um, just love my books. Truly beautiful story of love and forgiveness. Okay.
It's just
Okay, so it's a mother like determined that her daughter isn't gonna end up like her. Okay. Well,
would it be
I'm not gonna
sexist
go.
to say it's a very female story?
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it's is
Oh,
that sexist or is that like? You said
No,
it's
there's women.
excellent.
I mean, women's fiction. There's women's fiction. All right, so I don't think I'm gonna click the want to read button on that one, but we're gonna move on. Cause
All right,
are
it's
you ready to
mystery
move on?
next on
Are you
mystery on
ready?
your end. Yeah.
On my end, okay. So let me find it before. Okay, share this tab. So the Samuel Craddock series. I haven't read these, and I'll be quite honest. I don't read a lot of mystery because being as trained as I am in writing, I tend to kind of figure them out. And it's just not really my thing. Maybe there's not enough print sex in it. I don't know. But yeah, so the chief of police in Jarrett Creek, Texas, doubles as the town drunk. So when Dora Lee Pargeter, oh my gosh, that is the most Texan name ever. Dora Lee is murdered. Her old,
Corley Pargator.
yep,
Pargator. Oh, no.
her old friend and former police chief Samuel Craddock steps in. He discovers that a lot of people had it in for Dora Lee. The conniving rascals on the farm next door want her land for nefarious purposes. Her estranged daughter could be seeking vengeance. Her grandson wants money for art school. And then there's that stranger Dora Lee claims was spying on her. Does Craddock still have what it takes to find the killer? Okay, so it's like an old, washed up guy searching for redemption. Those are classic stories.
You know, I
Um,
was gonna say, I have not read this book, so I won't comment on this book per se.
yeah.
But I have read. I am a fan of the noir mystery genre. I am a fan of Hap and Leonard, which is also a
Yeah.
Texas mysteries.
I've seen your wish list, not wish list, your like to read lists on here, and you do seem to really like the true crime and the noir type stuff.
I
Um,
do. I really do.
and I want to get into more of that. I need to give um mystery is more of a chance, but I've got so much other stuff I want to read that it's
That's
like
fair.
mystery. Yeah. So let's see. What is your book? You are doing Dreamland Burning. Let's see if I can find that
Yeah, I mean,
on.
I haven't read this one yet, but I did add it to my list. I think. I
Okay.
think I did.
It's got a cool cover.
Yeah, I know. That's why I picked it.
Yeah, let's see. When 17-year-old Rowan Chase finds a skeleton on this sounds cool on her family's property, she has no idea that investigating the brutal century-old murder will lead to a summer of painful discoveries about the past, present, and herself. Oh, even when I was putting this together, this is on my want to read list. Wow. 100 years earlier, a single violent encounter propels 17-year-old Will Tillman into a racial firestorm. In a country rife with violence against blacks and a hometown segregated by Jim Crow, Will must make hard choices on a painful journey towards self discovery and face his inner demons in order to do what's right the night Tulsa burns. Oh no. Wow. Okay. No wonder this is on my TBR. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Eight ninety
Tulsa.
nine on Kindle. I'm gonna. You know what? I actually have a shirt that just says 1921 and then Tulsa, Oklahoma on it that I wear to work sometimes. I'm very ashamed to say this, Britton, but I had not heard of the Tulsa Race Massacre until I was 29 years old. And
Yeah, it was kind of it wasn't really talked about for a very long time until like not recent or
I
well
mean,
recent. Yeah, recently.
I knew nothing about Black Wall Street until I actually had to teach it in my classroom,
Yeah, it's
and
a sad story.
it's incredibly shocking, and just the fact that something so violent. I mean, how many were dead? 500? I mean, imagine if that happened nowadays. They think our riot nowadays are bad, but I mean, that probably, if that happened nowadays, that probably would have been up there with January 6th, don't you think? With just how bad it was and how
Yeah,
shocking.
definitely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I actually recently there was a guy who was at a that same local bookstore I was talking about was promoting a book about the Tulsa race riot, and I
I
haven't I
have
haven't
I have a zine about it, but
I haven't I have not. I did add it to my list though because I did want to read it, and
8.99 on Kindle is not bad. So this
but yeah, it's
sounds
an
like
incredibly
something.
sad story. I mean, the guy. it was one of those things where, like, I guess the black guy looked at some like white lady the wrong
Um,
way or something,
well, what
and
happened actually, the way it started,
turned
because I
into a.
used to.
Then it turned into a just debacle.
Yeah. So what happened was it was this 17-year-old kid and this 19-year-old girl. They were in an elevator together. The guy was an elevator operator, and she ran out screaming. And that's really all that happened. And so they found an excuse, like a scapegoat, just to do a riot, blamed it on that guy, even though the girl, I think her name was Sarah, said, no, he didn't do anything to me. My thought is, maybe there was just a spider in the elevator or something or a wasp, and she ran away. It was literally nothing. She was in a elevator, a little white girl with a young black male, and she screamed and ran away, and they made up lies about him. And even she said, no, he didn't do anything to me. And that led to like 5 days of just massacres.
Yeah, it's a sad story. I mean, it was even discussed on the Watchmen show as
Mm,
well.
yeah, that's just so this was already on my TBR, it looks like, before this. So that actually sounds like something I want to read now. I'm like, I want to drop everything and get to it. All right. Do you think we're ready to move on to thriller?
Uh,
Or
yeah.
you
Wait,
got more
what's?
to say, or you want to look at some reviews or something?
I mean, we can. I don't know what the reviews would be. But, oh,
Biased, yes, but in all honesty, this book changed my life. Okay, this shot up on my TBR. All right.
that's the author.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Oh, she means she's biased about the book. Okay, I get it. All right. This is you, Britton, The Long and Far Away Gone. This is your thriller.
Yeah, I had this on my list. I haven't read this yet, but I want to, and it takes place in my hometown.
Oklahoma, I see
So
that. Oklahoma City.
yeah, it's
You,
definitely seems. I'm like, I'm gonna just no, gonna eat that
yeah.
at some point.
So you haven't read it yet, but you're going to.
Oh, definitely, it's on the list. It's on the
Oh,
list.
yeah. Nice. So with the compelling narrative, let's see, tension and psychological complexity of the works of these people, um, is smart, fiercely compassionate crime story that explores the mysteries of memory and the impact of violence on survivors. Ooh, I like that. And the lengths they will go to find the painful truth of events that scarred their lives. In the summer of 1986, two tragedies rocked Oklahoma City. Six movie theater employees were killed in an armed robbery, while one inexplicably survived, and a teenage girl vanished from the annual state fair. Neither crime was ever solved. So is this true? Did that happen?
If it did, I'm not sure. Let me.
Okay. Okay, cool. 25 years later, the reverberations of those unsolved cases quietly echo through survivors' lives. A private investigator in Vegas, Wyatt's latest inquiry takes him back to the past he's tried to escape and drags him deeper into the harrowing mystery of the movie house robbery that left six of his friends dead. Like Wyatt, Giuliani struggles with the past, with the day her beautiful older sister Genevieve disappeared. So this must be the one at the state fair. Okay, going straight on my want to read list. When Giuliana discovered that one of her original suspects has resurfaced, she'll stop at nothing to find answered. As fate brings these damaged souls together, their obsessive quests spark sexual currents neither can resist. Oh, of course it does. But will their shared passion and obsession heal them or push them closer to the edge? Even if they find truth, will it help them understand what happened? That long and far away gone summer, will it set them free or ultimately destroy them? Interesting. Kind of cool cover, too. You've got the
Yeah.
Ferris wheel with the. Let's look at a little. This is an interesting book. Okay, the main characters, the crime. This is going over my head a little bit. Okay, I can't read that. So this is a fantastic novel. I was hooked right from the beginning and just loved it. Should be everyone's to read list. Well, it's on mine now. The novel, read it and spread the word. He's an incredibly talented writer. This is an incredible book, and it should be at the top of New York Times bestseller list. I don't think it was, but the past had power. The past was a riptide. This looks very cool. So,
There's Kemper.
oh, Kemper.
Mm-hmm.
You know this person?
I do. Yeah, I love his reviews. He hasn't done it in a while, but
Okay.
he's it's good. It's good.
So, anything else to say about it, Britton?
I can't wait to read this when I eventually get around to it.
Yeah, it just went
Um,
on my TBR too. So, we're gonna go back, and I think we're going to horror now.
but did you
Let's.
not? Did you do your thrillers?
I did not do my thriller, sorry. Thank you. All right, so share this tab instead. Okay, I have not read this, but I was looking at it earlier before I put it on here and added it to my want to read list. So Nora Spangler is a successful attorney, but when it comes to domestic life, she packs the lunches, schedules the doctor appointment, knows where the extra paper towel rolls are, and designs and orders the holiday cards. Her husband works hard too, but why does it seem like she's always working so much harder? When the Spanglers go house hunting in Dynasty Ranch, an exclusive suburban neighborhood, yeah, sounds like it. Nora meets a group of high powered women, a tech CEO, a neurosurgeon, an award winning therapist, a best selling author with enviable supportive husbands. When she agrees to help with a resident's wrongful death case, she is pulled into the lives of the women there. She finds the air is different in Dynasty Ranch. The women aren't hanging on by a thread. But as the case unravels, Nora uncovers a plot that many explain the secret to having it all. Oh, that may explain the secret to having it all. One that's worth killing for. Calling to mind a stepdad-wise gender swaps, the husband imagines a world where the burden of the second shift is equally shared in what it may take to get there. So when
Yeah,
I heard
that could be
that,
fun.
I was ready for it. Oh gosh. Sarah hates it. I know her. Damn, this was a real slog. Miss Nora really grated on my nerves. She's one of those women who insists repeatedly she's a feminist. Ugh. And then thinks a fair amount of out of pocket things. I get we all have internalized misogyny, but Nora was just giving girl boss women supporting women, but not all the time energy. Ugh. Truly one of the least thrilling thrillers I've ever read. All right, Sarah, negativity, huh? All right, the husbands. So Marilyn W. liked it. Let's see if I find any more reviewers I know. Other than Sarah, I don't recognize any of these other people. Well, Sarah, you have not discouraged me. I'm going to read this and I'll make up my own mind. But yes, as a feminist and professional woman myself, this sounds very tasty. We'll put it that way, regardless of what Sarah says.
Ow.
Yeah. So the husbands. All right. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that one. I think we're moving on to horror. So
Yeah, I guess I'll go first.
yeah. So
Yeah,
let
I
me.
got The Outsider from
Yeah.
King Horror himself, Stephen King.
Yeah. I think The Outsiders is what pulled up, not The Outsider. Let me get
Oh.
there. Of course it did. There we
I
go.
I actually haven't read that. I actually haven't read this book yet.
You
I want
haven't.
to though. I was going.
Well, the
I'm hoping to
cover.
read it. I'm hoping to read it for Spoopathon this year, but I don't know if I'll get around to it.
It's already on my want to read list. Interesting. An unspeakable crime, a confounding exposition. An 11-year-old boy's violated corpse? Yikes. So, Flint City. So, Stephen King, a lot of his books take place in like really cold environments, like Maine or Colorado, but this is Oklahoma, which isn't like the coldest place on earth. I'm sure it does get cold
It's
up
really
there.
hot
Yeah.
during the summertime. Oh God,
Yes, I'm sure it is. What temperature do you have right now? I'm gonna check mine because it's pretty hot here right now. I'm in Dallas. You're in Oklahoma City.
75 today, so it's not too bad.
Let's see what we got. It's saying it's overcast. My computer's. Let's see. Come on. But go ahead while I check that. What's up with this one, Britton?
I'm intrigued by. I mean, King usually is very good at concept, so like he's. It's just like okay, so this guy has a good alibi, but at the same time, all the evidence is pointing towards this guy. I want to see what's going on here, and
Well, there's my weather.
oh, there's your. Oh my God, 93.
Yeah, that's what it is. Let's go back. So he's really good at concept. Everything's pointing to this guy, but he had a great alibi.
And yeah, it seems kind of like a mixture of horror and crime. It definitely looks. It definitely seems like something that would appeal to me.
Yeah, that sounds right up your alley. Horror, crime, mystery, thriller. All these buzzwords right here that I know you're into.
Oh yeah, buddy. Oh,
Yeah, and it's
it's
pretty
tickling my
recent.
pickle, as they say.
Nice. Awesome.
I'm not making you
So,
uncomfortable now. Oh.
no, no, no. So you're hoping to read this for Spookathon, or do you have like actual plans to read it?
I had plans to. I do have plans to read it, but or well, I don't have a plan. It's sort of like if I do get through some of the books I'm planning to read, I'll pick it up and read it. But we'll
Okay.
see. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm not doing mini spooky books in October, I don't think, but this one looks really interesting, but it's kind of long. I've found that I think maybe a new favorite genre of mine might be historical horror, but
Oh yeah.
I
Have you
I
read
just What Moves
Alma
the Dead?
Ketch?
Huh?
Have you read Alma Ketch? Is that her name? Let me
I
look
don't
it up.
know. That doesn't sound familiar, so I doubt it.
Let
Um,
me look it up real quick.
I read Hellmouth. I read Moves the Dead. I read Help Meet. I read Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which has a
That's a good.
sequel.
That's a fun one.
Oh, it was so fun. I love the line, like the vampire comes and finds this like guy working at a convenience store. He's like, I can tell you once uh were was gonna live your dream. And he's like, yeah, as if working at a convenience store, I'm not living my dream right now. I loved the sarcasm. And Abraham Lincoln was a weirdo, so who knows? He might have believed in vampires. But yeah, so there's one called The Last American Vampire that if I'm gonna read a spooky book, it'll probably be that one.
I was mistaken. It's Alma Katsu. Um,
Mm-mm.
she does historical horror. She did one called The Hunger about the Donner Party. So
Oh, all right. Well, let's go put that on my TBR.
fucking,
The
I hate the search on Goodreads. It's just
yeah,
good lord, so bad.
the Hunger Games. The Hunger. There we go. Amakatsu. All right, right on there. Then we got the Hunger of the Gods, of course. So
But yeah, the outsiders, not the outsiders, the
yeah.
outsider.
Oh, okay.
Um, I've heard it's one of King's better books in the modern era, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And also, I also like the cover to it.
Yeah, the cover's cool. All right, so I'll go to my horror.
Well, I'm sure
This
you got a lot
one.
to pick from. You're from Texas. You guys are
So
lucky
I
over here.
thought about going with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of course,
That was a
but
book.
I think it is. I don't know. I would have looked it up if it was a book, but I chose this one, The Spite House. Now, this I actually started listening to on audiobook, but didn't get through it. It's new. It's from this year, and I will say that it is very reminiscent of Get Out. So Eric Ross is on a run from a mysterious past with his two daughters in tow. So he's a black man with his two black daughters. Having left his wife, his house, his whole life behind in Maryland, he's desperate for money. It's not easy to find safe work when you can't provide references. You can't stay in one place for long, and you're paranoid that your past is creeping back up on you. When he comes across the strange ad for the Mason House in Degner, Texas, Eric thinks they might have finally caught a break. The Mason property, notorious for being one of the most haunted places in Texas, needs a caretaker of sorts. The owner is looking for proof of paranormal activity. All they need to do is stay in the house and keep a detailed record of everything that happens there, provided the house's horrors don't drive them all mad like the caretakers before them. The job calls to Eric, not because there's a huge payout if they can make it through, but because he wants to explore the secrets of the Spite House. If it is indeed haunted, maybe it'll help him understand the uncanny power that clings to his family, driving them from town to town, making them afraid to stop running. A terrifying gothic thriller, so it's a Southern Gothic novel, About grief and death in the depths of a father's love, Johnny Compton's The Spite House is a stunning debut by a horror master in the making.
Ooh, that sounds. I might add that to my list.
Yeah, and
Sounds
you know,
good.
it doesn't say anything about the characters being black, so I was surprised when I started listening to it and the characters were black and they were struggling with, there aren't any black kids for my kids to play with. And oh, a review at Grimdark Magazine. Interesting.
John Morrow. I've heard of that guy.
I have too, yeah. A black Southern Gothic horror. So Southern Gothic is my favorite subgenre of historical fiction, and what I just said about historical horror. So, if I get through The Last American Vampire, this one is definitely coming. It looks a little bit expensive. I'm sure I can find a better price than $15 for digital, but we'll see. Um,
It's like Get Out.
so
I really like that movie.
Get Out, yeah, it's great. And I think it won Best Original Screenplay too. So this feels very reminiscent of Get Out, and I can't wait to read it. Wow, I didn't know exactly that much about it. I just saw that it was available, and I wanted to get it going for this live stream or recording on your end.
Well, I'm
But
definitely. I'm gonna add that to my list.
yeah, and it's only
Fight
short, 261
House.
pages.
Ah,
So
good.
yeah, I'm gonna get myself a copy. To be honest, the narrator didn't really hold my attention. I'm kind of really sensitive to sound, so audiobooks are really hit and miss for me. So I like the Philippa Gregory audiobooks, but the narrator of this, he just didn't hold my attention. He was kind of grating on my nerves a little bit, just from the way he sounded. Just
There we
his
go.
voice
Does it
wasn't
have a
great.
paperback yet?
Um,
Well, hold on. I'm looking.
I can just hit Kindle and
Oh
it'll take
fuck! I have
me.
to wait till 2024.
Oh geez. Well, the hardcover, $18. Ugh. 27 used from 654. They've probably got like an old library copy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Spy House. That sounds right up my alley. I like the Southern Gothic stuff.
Yeah, so if I were to buy this, I'd probably get the $10 one. Oh, Kindle. Oh, I have Kindle credits. That's why it would be cheap for me. Okay. I read a lot of digital because I like to read sometimes when my students are working, and I've been told that I grade really quickly. So oftentimes in my planning period, I don't have any planning or grading to do, so I'll just sit there and read because I also do a lot of work from home just because I would rather be doing work at home in my nice comfy bed than at my desk. So a lot of teachers um, won't work at home, but I will. So Epic Tales is with us. Hey,
How's it
I
going,
just
Tim?
I just saw this. What's going on? You missed the part where we explained what the Red River rivalry was. But to sum
Very
it up,
eloquent.
in a week, the University of Texas is going to kick Britain's team's ass in a football game.
Yeah.
And it's a very historic rivalry. Um, would we call it a good rivalry? I don't think it's like we've got hard feelings toward each other. I think we look on it with fondness.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's going on. It's a big tradition in Texas. They come to the state fairgrounds and play at the Cotton Bowl, which is a historic stadium. Um, and it's just a fun cultural time of year. State fair, fall, it's very autumnal. So what we're doing is we're talking about books set in Texas
And
and
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Yes. And I'm sorry, this was 30 minutes ago. I'm so sorry. But yeah,
Yeah.
and we're getting kind of close to the end. I think we only have one more genre left, which is nonfiction. But
Yeah.
thanks for being
Yeah.
here. And I wish I had seen your question or I would have answered it earlier. My
Yeah.
bad. I've been a little. Let me know which way the rivalry swings this year. Well, I mean, you don't really need to think that hard about it.
Ha.
But
OU's
sorry.
gonna come back. We're gonna win the
Oh
national.
yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But
Well, Texas beat Alabama, so I mean Texas is having a good year. So,
um,
but I think hey, I think historically OU has kind of kicked our butt for a while, to be honest. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. There's a very famous meme. I was gonna stray away from this, Britton, but I can't now that Epic Tales is here. Hey, win or lose, at least we don't live in Oklahoma. So there's
Mm,
that.
mm.
Fighting words. We were
Oh,
friends before I
yeah.
said that.
Them's fighting words now.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so that'll be it for the Spite House. Britton, let's take us to the last one. I know you really love this book.
yeah, I
So
just read it recently, and I did
let's
a
gush
review of
about
it.
it. Let's gush about it.
Yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon, excellent book. Um, it it's kind of it's I don't know if you ever read In Cold Blood, but it's kind of like that, except it's
You
not
know,
really a
I
novel.
yeah, I started it before I was really into a reader, so it's not what you're gonna well, In Cold Blood's not a novel either. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine, so sorry. But novels specifically refer to fiction. Uh, In Cold Blood is a true crime story, so it's creative nonfiction. It's narrative nonfiction, so it's meant to read like fiction, but it's not fiction. It's true.
Yeah, I'd say Killers of the Flower Moon is a similar thing. It's very sad story of basically the Osage Nation who they basically were moved to Oklahoma. Turns out there was a lot of oil in Oklahoma, so they became rich. Well, us white people, we had
Yeah,
to you had to go in and ruin all that pretty much.
yeah. Sadly.
So um,
So it's just the story of that?
yes, it's also the story of how they brought the people who, because there were a bunch of murders, and
Okay.
it's about the people who brought down the murders. It's also about how it's also about the like it's also just about the exploitation of Native Americans in America. So
That's so shameful. I feel so bad about that. Being from Texas, I have a little bit of Native American in me. I mean, I think we all basically do if we grew up around here. Britain, do you have a small percentage of Native American in your blood by any chance?
I thought I did, but no, I
But then
don't.
you did the 23andMe type thing,
But then I actually took a ancestry test. Nope.
and turns out not. That's a fairly common story here, but yeah. Um, I mean,
Not
just
the
being
proudest moment of my state, but it's a good
yeah,
story though.
it is a good story. I just wish it wasn't true. We'll put it
Yeah.
that way. And I think like a lot of people around here, I mean, we were involved in the Civil War and we were also meeting our ancestors. We're also involved in the atrocities that happened to the Indians, sadly. So it's something we still need to come to terms with and repair. And I think it's going to take us a while to do so. But anything else to say about it?
Not really. It's a
Not
great
really.
story. It's a great story that I think that should be told, that should be read. Um, can't wait for the movie. Get to
Fascinating.
see
Oh, awesome. I didn't
get
know
to
there
see
was going to be a
Marty take
movie.
on. Can't wait to see Marty take on the movie.
Nice. So, fascinating account of the Osage murders. That rings a bell with me in the 1920s. Looking forward to seeing the Scorsese film. Nice. Yes, we do. America has an ugly history of racism and abuse of the original Americans.
Oh wow, really? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Wow, a hot take there.
So here we go. This is mine. Friday Night Lights, a town, a
Yeah,
team, and a dream. I'm sure we're all familiar with the movie.
I've heard of the
With
movie. I've heard of the TV show.
both are great. Both are great. TV show is way more fictional than the movie. My mother was actually in high school and played Permian when she remembers what this team. And so this takes place in Odessa, which is a town in West Texas, not really far West Texas, but kind of past the Panhandle into sort of getting. Let me see if I can show you where it is because it's like when people think of West Texas, Texans think of here. but I think most people would probably think of like out in El Paso, which is like way beyond what we would call West Texas. We call that like basically Mexico. So here we are. You can see, oops. So you can see this is Odessa right here. This is Midland, which is mentioned in the movie. And so West Texas kind of starts about once you get further from Abilene, being in Dallas. We're still East Texas out here, but then once you get to Abilene, you're in West Texas. But this is Odessa. You can see it's right on the edge of this little crook right here. And once you get past this, this is what we call Big Bend. So this would not be West Texas. This is West Texas. I know that doesn't make sense, but this is in all the dry climate, but it's before the mountains. These are the mountains. So we've got North Texas, right here, which is DFW, East Texas, which is right here, Texoma, because it's by Lake Texoma, up north of Dallas,
Yeah. Go there.
Panhandle, and then South Texas. And then this is the Hill Country. So we got Central Texas right here, and then the Hill Country. So Texas is broken into a few different areas.
It's big boy.
Yep, but I think we all know about Texas high school football. My high school, like 8-time state champions. No kidding. And I think we actually have more than Permian. So my school kind of beats out the school a little bit. But there was a journalist who came down to Odessa and could not believe how much high school football means to people out here. And this is definitely a good and a bad thing being a high school teacher. Um, Unfortunately, our community is not as connected to our sport, and we don't have as good of a community as a place like Carter, which is what Permian played. That's a Dallas school. They have a huge alumni association, and so does Salco Cliff, which is another Dallas school. But my school it's mostly immigrants, so we don't really have a huge community of alumni and stuff like that. But high school football can be bad because they can idolize these kids, and there's actually a scene in the movie where Booby Miles goes out into his car with his uncle. He's like, I can't do anything but play football. Like the kid could barely read. And so they idolize these kids. They make them feel like football's all they're ever good for, but it also means a whole lot to these towns. So it's a good and a bad thing, but it can definitely be dangerous. And this has more of a journalistic style as opposed to the movie. And now I want to watch the movie. But I love the movie. I love the TV show. The TV show is actually one of my favorite shows. It's on Netflix, and I will say that is when we get to seasons 4 and 5, that's a very realistic portrayal of an inner city school. Probably the best portrayal I've seen. One of them. The Wire too is good. During like
I will say, I thought The Wire was really good.
Yeah, but
I've never been to an interstate school, but like Wire, man.
How many of them become professional football players? I would say 1 in 50, maybe. A lot of them play in college.
It's very difficult to be a professional football player.
Well, if you talk about the NFL, yeah, but a lot of them will go play arena football or like Canadian football, like the A&M guy, Johnny Football, didn't make it in the NFL. But how many of them become professional football players? Like if you're like the star in the state of Texas where everybody's fawning over you, yeah, there's a good chance you're gonna go pro in the NFL. But you've got to be like the best of the best. And a lot of these kids really aren't aiming to be professional football players. It's just kind of like the time of their life, which is sad because they're 17 and 18 years old. But it's also a good thing because it's so like quintessentially Texas and there's so much nostalgia around it. But yeah, not that many. not that many become professional football players. A lot of them do play in college, but most of them don't really aspire to be professional players. The pinnacle of their football career is usually the playoffs. So yeah. So that is Friday Night Lights. And I think that's actually a really good place to stop because we're leaving off on football and we've got football coming up in a week.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna put my version of the video up on my channel on Friday.
perfect. And
So
then this is my live stream. This is my first live stream. I didn't record this, but it'll be on my channel under, I think, lives. So I can't wait to see your video, Britton. Yeah.
well, shouldn't be
I'm
too
sure we're
different
not
from this one.
I'm sure we're not biased at all, but
Oh no, not at
this
all.
is my friend the Longhorn, and I'm gonna name him Austin.
Oh,
So
I
from me
like
and
that.
Austin, this was a lot of fun,
I should
Britton.
have just like
Thank you.
brought a horse in here and just been like, "This is Boomer, good boy."
Boomer, yeah. Oh, do you want to tell the story of why they're called Sooners? That's an interesting story. Or a good
If
place
I
to leave off.
remember right, they were given the rules not to go on the land.
Yeah,
Well, the Sooners they went early,
yeah.
hence
So
the name.
there was a land grant or something passed in like 1846 or sometime then. Uh, if you want to put the correct date up on
I
yours,
mean, we were
I don't care.
basically a state. We weren't officially a state till 1907, but we were
Yeah,
basically we were a state and all but named by around 1886. So
yeah, yeah. So the
the only reason
Sooners,
we couldn't become a state was because of it was Indian country basically,
yeah.
and they were kind of
So the Sooners were the ones that broke the law and went out and started their own land. So they're very proud of that in Oklahoma. So they've got the Sooners, and then they've got Oklahoma State, which are the Cowboys. And then you've
we're
got,
a weird bunch in
yeah,
America. I'll put it that way.
yeah. And then in Texas, we've got the Longhorns, the Texas A&M Aggies, North Texas Mean Green. Used to be the Eagles, but now they're the Mean Green. That's their official mascot. Texas Tech, Red Raiders, UTEP Miners. Texas has a lot of colleges.
Yes, they
Yeah.
do.
And I think,
Baylor. Did you mention
oh
Baylor?
yeah, I forgot about Baylor. My parents went to Baylor, and I totally forgot about Baylor. Baylor Bears. Yeah, we've got some cool mascots. I think the Longhorn is a really good mascot. That's very Texas.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was about to say that's probably the most Texas thing I can think of.
So
I've been to
Texas.
the Longhorn
Yeah.
Steakhouse in my home state.
Oh,
It's very delicious food.
yep. Yep. All right, Britton. It's been a blast. So I will sign
Oh
off
yeah,
the live stream, and I guess you can do
we
your
should do
own
this again.
outro. Do you want me to? Well, yeah.
We
So
should do this
I'm gonna
again.
end the stream right. Yep, I'm gonna end the stream right now. Thanks for everybody who watched. End stream.